So my name is Zar Jaffer. I'm the managing director of Fairway Hotel, Sambay River Lodge, Cocoa Beach, Boss Burger, and a few small other things. Um, the reason I agreed to do this is I believe that entrepreneurship is knowledge that should be shared. I am where I am today because of the people that shared their stories and their advice with me. And I hope that anything and everything I say is can be inspirational or helpful. I'd also like to say that everything is just my opinion, right? Like there's around 40 or 50 questions that were sent to me. I don't know the answers, and I don't want you to take everything I say as black and white. I'm just giving you what I have learned through my exposure, my education, through this, things that have worked for me, and you pick and choose what works for you and you apply it to your life. That's just a disclaimer. Yeah.
At the conference, you said something profound, and I would like you to say it again as we start off your session. You said, hello, did I lose Jaffa?
I'm here.
There he is. Jaffa, you said that people come up to you and say you are privileged. You come from a wealthy family. No wonder your business is doing so well. All right. So tell us why that thought is true, but not the ultimate truth. There's truth behind it that people do not see. Share that with us.
So first, I was born and brought up in Canada. Although my great grandfather, my grandfather, my father were all born here in Uganda. Was born in the 1980s in Canada. There, growing up, there was not this necessarily thing of wealthy and poor. You were just kind of average, right? Everyone is kind of similar. So I never. It was not that I was necessarily privileged in terms of wealth. It was just maybe where I was brought up. In terms of coming back here, the privilege I saw was that I had a base, right? I came into a family business that was kind of on the low side. For those of you that know Fairway, Fairway in the 90s was like the top hotel. You know, it was where all the conferences, we had the first pool. It was a big hotel. Then in the 2000s, after Chogam, it kind of slowed down when the family members were back in Canada. So when I came here, it was on its kind of low side. So privilege that I had something to start with, and privilege that I had exposure, but I don't think that's the only reason to success. I mean, there are so many people I've met here that don't have the exposure, don't have the education, and their businesses are huge, significantly bigger than ours. So yeah.
So now we will immediately, you've talked about your family and how, I mean, you're from the third generation, right?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us some of the questions here from Sydney and Lillian. They ask, one, as a family business, how do you so about the family business, one, how were you introduced to the business? How did the handover happen? And the big question here is, how do you share what comes out of the family business? So do for us the split of, you are the entrepreneur, but then you're working for the family. How were you introduced to the business? How did the transition go? And how do you share the profits?
Um, okay, so I was introduced to the business every summer from the age of 4 or 5 years old. I would do my education in Canada and I would fly here for the summers to spend time with my dad. So in those times, my dad would kind of get me involved in small things. So either sitting in the office, like I'd be playing. Sometimes he'd be like, "Oh, go stand with this guy and sell popcorn or something," just to keep me busy as a child because I was bored. So I think I got interest in there that every summer I'd come back, he'd tell me to do something different. I'd say, okay. If I did things well, I would get a small candy, right? And when you're 5, 6, 7 years old, you don't even understand money. You understand reward. And for me, reward was candy or food. So I then quite easily saw the relation between doing something, doing it well, and getting a reward. And I think that's how every time I'd come back, I'd be like, oh, dad, what can I do next? So that was my interest. In terms of handover, honestly, like in my heart, I never thought I would be in Uganda. Uganda was the place where my father was, um, my dad's family. I have a lot of my dad's so although growing up in Canada, I thought I would be that side, there was something in Uganda that always pulled me back. Like I've traveled, I feel more at home here in Uganda than I do anywhere else in the world. So there was definitely a pull for me here. Handover happened slowly. It wasn't like oh yeah, now you're here, this is your business. It was more like I graduated. I wanted to do something different. So, my dad's like, why don't you come and spend a few months here? I said, okay, fine. I came here for a few months. He's like, what would you like to do? I said, well, let me understand the business. So I was in like, reception and gardens and things that I found interesting to me. And then I slowly took on more responsibilities. So from, for example, being at reception for 6, 7 months, then I was like, okay, let me try marketing, let me try operations, let me try F&B. So it was more my own interest in the different parts of the business that, hey, okay, I'm bored with this, let me try this. Or I've done some good work here, let me do this. So the handover was gradual. Because it was gradual, when I lost my father, I didn't feel it so difficult in terms of business, like taking over the business. It was something I had already done.
Okay. I'm
Yeah,
losing Jafar. Jafar, I lost you there for a minute. Hello, Jafar. Good.
yeah, you can hear me?
Hello.
Sorry. Yes.
Hello, Jafar.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah.
We have lost him. As we try to get Jafar back, we are speaking to Jafar Azar, the managing director.
To party. But when you explain to them that, the more money that is retained in the company, it grows the company, right? If you keep milking the company, then it doesn't have enough money to grow. So fine, you're taking this and you're taking the small bonus, but in the grand scheme of things, our family business will grow larger. So that's my answer for that.
Yeah, Jafar, our culture here doesn't have strict governance measures. And now when it comes to family, it can be very, very difficult. So what I hear you saying is setting up governance structures and actually, I don't know if you erase the line or you draw a stronger boundary between the
You know,
family
you,
business and the family issues.
you know the
That's what you're
word
trying to say.
the word governance structure to me
Uh-huh.
sounds complicated, and it doesn't need to be
Okay.
complicated. It's like taking a piece of
What?
paper and saying, okay, look, this is the pie. We want some money
Yes.
to remain in the pie. I'm on top of this pie and I need this. These are my
Mm-hmm.
kids or my relatives. I'm okay giving them this and a little bit more here if they do well. And then sitting down and
Yep.
say, does this fair for everyone or does this make sense? If people are older.
Yes.
If you have young kids, there's no need
Yes.
to sit with them. It's the more you telling them this is what it's going to be, but I expect you to do well. And you're not entitled just
Oh,
because you are my son. You have to work for this. I think that changes the way a kid feels about a business also.
yes. I heard you say that at the start, your dad asked you. He didn't impose the business on you. He asked you, is it okay? What would you like to do? What do you think about it? I also recall at the conference, you mentioned that it is not good to force the business enterprise onto your children. Speak more about that, Jaffa.
Like, I said this when I was speaking that nobody likes to be told what to do. And that's the same for a child and it's the same for us. But but everyone, all of us has an ego. All of us likes to be asked maybe our opinions. Um, so I feel when you ask a kid, what do you think about this? Or, oh, how would you do this? You're indirectly getting their interest into something. And again, I was a child, right? And I don't know if my dad did it subconsciously or if he did it purposely, but that was just his approach, and I gained a natural interest for the business. Like I said, I don't know if it works for everything, but I feel forcing someone to do something does not work. Understanding their interest and then aligning it to parts of your business is a smarter way of getting people involved. I also want to say one thing. I remember reading in some of the questions, people were asking, oh, I have 5 kids or 7 kids. How do I get them involved? Or I have three
Yes,
kids, they're not involved in the business now, and now it's too late. Now they have their own passions. To answer the first
yes.
question, it doesn't, just because you have 5 kids, it doesn't mean all 5 kids have to be in that business. And nor is it good to put all your eggs in one basket, right? You might have 2 kids that are
Mm,
interested and 3 kids that want to seek professional. Um, you could have a kid that wants to be a lawyer that can complement your business in the future, right? Someone that's more creative that can complement in another way. So I think letting your kids do
mm,
what they want without forcing is important. Another thing I've seen is like, yeah, you said this question was, I run my family business. It's now big. I have 3 kids and none of them want to work in this business. And that's a common problem even here. I have friends who are in UK, Canada, America. Their parents have huge businesses here. And the kids are like, I don't want to run that business. I want to do what I want to do. And there's nothing wrong with that, because if your company is big enough and you form it in a way where it has a manager, they can then report to those kids, right? In the future, once you have retired or whatever. A good structured business can still run and grow without the kids being directly involved in day to day if it is structured well.
Great. Now you are helping answer most of the questions that have been shared here. So I will try to pick out the ones that you have not dealt with. Now let's go to the season after COVID. I personally remember the last time before COVID, I visited Fairway Hotel was in the 90s. And after COVID, I've had 2 conferences there, 2 that have been booked by myself. I've had a couple of meals and meetings with girlfriends. Jaffer, you've done a great job. We need to applaud you. Tell us, what has managed to turn Fairway Hotel around? What have you done differently?
When you talk about COVID, it gave me shivers because it was such an unpredictable time in our industry. And I just remember on the TV, all of a sudden the president is like, we are closing the country. And I'm like, what happens, Um, I think first in times of down, it's important not to panic, right? It's important to maybe have your 10 minutes of tantrum and then take a breath and say, what can I do now to steer my company out? I said this at the conference that an entrepreneur is a very tough job. Everything falls back on you, right? Um, I'll quickly tell a bit about Fairway, and then I'll go into what my decisions. Fairway succeeded during COVID because we all came together as a team, right? So we said, look, this is the situation we are in. Managers, supervisors, this is the situation. If we all work together and do something about it, we can get through. If everyone just kind of becomes selfish, then we will fail. And everyone came together. The waiters, people got involved in construction. My wife was in the kitchen baking croissants. It was like it was a whole team effort. And by them seeing us working, they themselves worked without any pain. So I think, yeah, using the team you have to re-steer your business during that time can work. One of the reasons I think we're successful is we focused on our core ethos, which is customer service. I said this as well, that sometimes things don't take money, they just take training, right? The way you welcome a guest, the way that your products are displayed, the way the pricing is there. I've noticed that in my cocktail bar, that they would go to the bar and they would say, I want a drink. But when there's no menu, it's like so difficult to make a decision. So just by observing your customer enter your business and what they do, and then seeing how do I improve that, makes a difference. So I think focusing on our customer service experience for us was the main thing. Working as a team, and actually getting input from your teammates. Hello?
Yes, Jafar, I can hear you.
Okay. Do you have any more
I can
questions
hear
for me?
you. Oh, okay, great. So I also know you have your own passions, Jafar. No one can walk up to you and say, if it wasn't your dad's business, you wouldn't be wearing that shirt, right? You make your own money. So talk to us about your own investments that you have set up and how you're managing those along the family business. Aren't you cheating on? Who are you cheating on? How do you balance everything?
No, I think there are 2 types of income. There's passive income, which is like your rental income, your fixed deposit income, and then there's your active income, which is your daily job or daily entrepreneurial. I think when you're involved in a family business, you cannot be involved in another active business, because where does your focus go? Where do you spend more time? Because your personal business will earn you personally more, but your family business benefits you as a whole. So one thing that I've seen is if you're working in a business, it's okay to have passive income. Now, if I make, let's say, $100,000 and I decide to buy a small apartment and earn rent from it, I think that's smart, right? Because I'm focused here, but I have something coming in. So that's something I do. Every time I try to get a bit of income, I try to take a portion of that and put it in a fixed deposit, put it in a property, put it in something that will keep growing and earning. If I do this every year for 10, 15, 20 years, by the time I'm 50, even if, let's say, my business fails, at least I will have passive income coming in that I can survive on. So that is my strategy.
Trying to unmute my mic. So Jaffer, looking through the questions here and speaking from my Ugandan perspective, oh no, let me speak generally. Families usually have conflict, okay, misunderstandings, diverse ideas and personalities. And now, if they have a business and they have to work together, there's definitely going to be a lot of conflict. I would like you to talk to us about managing conflict in a family business. Some people are saying, oh, my dad wants me to do this, but I do not want to do it. Or someone wants to take more money than should. So I know you mentioned it at the start, but let's talk about conflict. How do you manage it in your family?
So conflict is inevitable. Regardless of what you do in life, conflict is going to happen, right? I think it's I can just give you some of the conflicts we've had. Like even something like painting a wall where I wanted it to be this color and my grandfather said, no, it has to be this color. And it was not that either of us are wrong or right. It's just different perspectives. It's different tastes, right?
Yes.
It can be the same as pricing a product or whatever it is. Disagreements will happen or where to invest. I think what's important is open dialogue, having conversations. I think having structured conversations is very important. What happens in a family business is that every meal becomes a discussion about business, or every outing, even after work, is talking about business. And although sometimes it's good, it's also kind of unhealthy. I think saying, look, we are not agreeing on something. Let us sit on Wednesday at 6 p.m. We spend 2 hours together and we both tell our views and we give each other the opportunity to talk, to listen and ask questions. Because just through that process, your idea and your idea might go into a better idea, or you might see the other person's point of view. I think sometimes it's easier said than done. It's always sometimes also helpful to bring a third party in the room. So that could be a relative, it could be somebody you both respect, like a grandfather, an uncle, a nephew, someone that maybe is in the professional world who is not related to your business, to say, hey, come sit between us two parties, help us mediate and help us find a way forward. I think that's always very helpful as well. And I've seen this in businesses with 100 million shilling turnover. I've seen it in 100 billion shilling turnover families. It's the same kind of things, but the methodology of finding a way to go past the conflict and lead to a better position, you need to follow such structures.
Oh, great. I would now like to ask you about employees and your human resource. We have a question here that says, how do you manage to handle workers who only work for money, but not the mission of the company? Yes.
I feel like the truth is, okay, the truth is that people come to work for you for money, right?
Yes.
We are doing what we do every day because money is the base of it, right? I think first accepting that is the truth is one thing. One thing I always tell my staff is, you're here. I always ask them this question: why are you here? And then they'll raise their hand. They'll say, money. We need to earn. We had school fees. I'm like, exactly. The reason you're here is for money. You have to be here. But if you make this a better work environment, you will like to be here and you will earn money, right? So it's good that you're here to earn. But if you understand the culture we're trying to build and what you are working towards and why it's important, it just makes it a better working environment. If you work as a team, you enjoy lunch with your colleagues. You enjoy saying hello to people you're with. So that's how I kind of phrased it, to get them a bit more understanding of the importance of following the mission and vision. I also think it's important to be transparent, right? To show the wins and the losses of the company. So when we do well, I tell my staff, we've done well. I'm happy for you. Let's have a soda or let's do something like that. So celebrating the wins with them, make them feel like they are part of the team.
Yes.
I also always look at it, I always relate it to a sport. So football football, soccer is the easiest sport that people understand, right? So I'll be like, okay, the waiters, you're in the offense, and the ones on the accounts, you're in like the defense. So, you know, when you work as a team, if the waiters don't bring in the money, you know, related to something that staff can understand, then they feel more towards the goal.
Great. So we have about 4 minutes to go, and we have a question here. How did you create systems to run the Fairway business even when you are not there?
So I think there are different ways of doing this. I took a top-down approach where I said, managers, first, you need to have a weekly scheduled meeting, right? So that's like the first structure I put in place. Then I said, okay, now you have weekly. Now you might need subcommittee where the sales team has something, this has something. Then I went into reporting. So I'm like, I want to see reports. How many people did you reach out to in a day or in a week? How much sales were made in a week? Now, by forcing them to do reports in these meetings, it forces them to get a bit more organized in keeping records, because otherwise, how will they report to me if they don't know what to report? So that's the approach I took. I think having a system is important. You know, like when I came here, we didn't even have computers. Like in the 2008, 2010 era, internet and stuff was still slow here. Used to have those big fat computers, so like it took a bit of time. Now we have phones, we have software. There's a lot of free software online. There's a lot of free account systems online. So I think having a system is key. Also, you don't necessarily have to hire a person with experience. I would hire somebody with passion or professionalization. So for example, for my reception team, I don't necessarily like to hire a receptionist from another hotel. I want to hire someone that understands customer service, has passion for hospitality, but also is smart. She could have studied engineering. He could have studied accounting. He could have been a lawyer. But I feel if you're smart, you have passion and you have interest, I can shape you into what I need for this position.
Okay, so we have 2 minutes to go. Tell us why we need to come to Fairway Hotel this weekend. We are going to get paid, you know? Yes.
Okay. When I create a product, I like to, okay. When I first moved here, I would start meeting people and I would like to hear the stories they said that, oh, you know, in the 90s, I came there for my brother's wedding. I had such good memories. I have photos. And that's what gave me passion for this, that man, this has created memories for people for generations from the 60s. So everything I do, I like to create it in a way where people come together, they enjoy the social aspect. If you look at Fairway, there's a lot of greenery. The pool side is very nice. We have our staff are friendly, you know, the customer service is good, the food is good. If you look at Coco Beach Entebbe is, in my opinion, is one of the best beaches in Entebbe. Just the toilets alone, it's worth it for you to go to Coco Beach and look at the toilets we have put on that beach. It's fun, it's safe, it's a good environment. And then Sambia River Lodge is one of the oldest lodges in Uganda. I took it over during COVID. It has 3 swimming pools, zip lining, like 40 cottages. It's on 70 acres. It's a beautiful property. It's very, very family friendly. There's a kids area. So you can see that all my products are very family oriented.
So everyone belongs to a family, everyone has friends, and we all want to create memories. So what Jaffer is telling us is to go to Fairway Hotel, to go to Coco Beach. What's the hotel, Sambia?
Sambia River Lodge in Murchison Park.
Yes, you are all go enjoy nature, and please make sure that you do check into the Sambia Lodge. It's 10:30, Jaffer. We want to thank you so much for your time. Do you have a parting shot?
I'd like to say one more thing. Entrepreneurship is not easy. And I know even in some of the questions, people are trying to decide, do I leave professional work where I have a safe income and dive into entrepreneurship? And it's not an easy decision, and there's no right or wrong answer, right? But what's important, I think, is kind of mapping out a decision tree. I see it too often where somebody quits their job and he's like, I'm going to start a business. And I'm like, what business? What are you going to do? You know? Another thing I read here is about entrepreneurs trying to grow without money. The first and only thing you need to focus on is the problem you're solving and who is your first customer. Your first customer can get you your second customer and then your third. So when you're starting a business, don't think, how do I need 1,000 customers. Start with your first, get feedback. Then your second, get feedback. Keep shaping your product or service until you have something that customers are then referring. then you have a business. That's all I wanted to say.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you so much for your time. We've had an action-packed day today on the Business Recovery Series with Enterprise Uganda, a great way to close the month and usher us into the festive season. Thank you so much, Jafar from FAIRWAY Hotel and Doreen from Barara. Both were speakers at the Global Entrepreneurship Week 2024 conference, and we decided to bring them back so that they can share more insights with you. Thank you so much for your feedback in the chat. Most of you are appreciative of Jaffa and all the conversations we've had today. If we've not had your questions today, Emmanuel Sapaldi, next time we'll be able to speak to you. From me, Belinda Namtebi, and the Enterprise Uganda team, I would like to wish you a great day, and we'll talk to you next Thursday. Goodbye for now.